Welcome back, everyone, to the weekly Armchair Kickoff podcast. This is our United show. This is Devil's Advocate, and today I'm here to preview Manchester United versus Wolves in the Premier League. Manchester United's final Premier League game of the season. I suppose when you look at this game, massive kind of game for Manchester United in terms of building some momentum in the Premier League, as we do have a massive Europa League final Wednesday night. Usually for a preview of this kind of game, these types of games, I would have a panel on with me and we discuss tactics, discuss form, we discuss this, that and the other. But tonight I said, look, I'll take a more personal approach and I'll actually come on here alone and actually come on and chat with you guys in the comments. Also give my thoughts kind of the Fulham game and kind of just my overall thoughts kind of on the last kind of couple of weeks as a Manchester United fan, because it's been, I suppose, a weird couple of weeks as a United fan, and kind of, I suppose, the form, protests, Europa League final, it's been wild these last couple of weeks. So look, I think this way I said, I'll come on tonight, have a bit of a more personal approach and kind of have a bit more of a chat with you guys in the comments, because I know some nights we can't get to all of them in the one night. So, this way I wanted to come on and have a bit more of a chat with you guys. Victoria's Secrets is in the house, as always, says, evening folks, hope everyone is well and keeping safe. Absolutely, I hope you're keeping well today. Hope you have a good weekend. Let us know if you have any plans. Rory, as always, is in the house as well, and says, evening everyone, evening Rory, hope you're well. But yeah, I'm here to talk all things Manchester United, especially leading up to the Fulham game this coming Sunday at 4:00. Now, I suppose Wolves game, this coming Sunday. It's a big game, but kind of looking back at the Fulham game during the week. Obviously, it was the first time we'd fans back in 426 days, over a year and a bit. And I don't know how you guys felt, but it felt surreal for me to see 10,000 fans in Old Trafford again. It was a very good moment to kind of see fans come back and hear fans sing their lungs out, and kind of there's a bit of atmosphere in Old Trafford, because we haven't seen that in over a year. And I think largely it hasn't felt the same watching United this season. I know we've played well this season. We're second league in Europa League final, but for me, it hasn't felt the same. Hasn't had that same effect. You hearing the fans roar in the Stretford end. Let's say if we were kind of labouring on the ball, hearing the fans kind of try to kick on the team, to see that for the first time in the over a year was great to see. I suppose looking at the game itself, I think for me, first half, very good, getting on the ball. Cavani scoring that goal, whether it's offside or you're not, open to interpretation. I think we all know Bruno didn't touch the ball. Probably should have been offside, but very well taken finish. Great awareness by Cavani, and it took balls, seeing the keeper off his line like that, to kind of shoot from that range and put it over the keeper. But it's kind of crazy when you think about the last two goals have been scored at Old Trafford from Manchester United. You have the Cavani goal lobbing the keeper from range, and also you have McTominay from that similar range lobbing Ederson. So when you look at the last two goals United have scored at Old Trafford, it's like in front of fans, two fantastic goals. Obviously, we looked threatening after that. We looked like this is going to be kind of a field day. I thought it was going to be 3 or 4 after getting a goal that early, and our tails seemed to be up. Second half happens. Again, Man United were our own worst enemy. I think, again, the defending hasn't been the best. And I think I did say, you can't attribute that all to Harry Maguire being out, but I think you can at some bits, because he organises the back four. I think you've seen a lack of organisation in the back four since he's been injured. But I think we were a bit shaky in defence. I think in midfield we failed to take control of the game. And I think that's concerning coming into next Wednesday against Villarreal, when we're going to need to take control of the midfield, because Unai Emery, his teams are always organised, compact. I know at Arsenal, sometimes it wasn't like that, but there were stages when he was manager of Arsenal, he did have that team compact, organised, though very well drilled. And he's a Europa League specialist. So I think when you look at this, it was kind of concerning. Look at the last couple of games, it's almost like we're sleepwalking into the Europa League final. And again, I'm not saying that as a negative. Look, anyone who's played ball can tell you when you're in the cup final, you don't want to risk injury. You don't want to risk, there might be a 50-50 you go into, and you might pull out of it because you think, if I go into this, I could get injured for the final. So, Victoria's Secret just says it in the comments here. I absolutely agree. It's like the last few league performances were played like friendlies, no pressure, as we were already guaranteed top four. I think our performances would have been better if we had to win games to get top four. I absolutely agree with that. You know what? That comment is actually bang on, because when you actually look at the performances ever since we beat Villa, that more or less said, look, top four is done, because a couple of teams had to play each other, and barring us collapsing to a massive degree, if we didn't win against Villa, then we might have been battling for top four. But I think since we kind of sealed top four in second place, been kind of more or less been sealed. We've known that for quite some time. The performances have tailored off since we qualified for the Europa League final. There's no getting around that. But ultimately, look, I think this Sunday is a good chance to let's try eradicate that. Let's try, go out there and pick up a result before Wednesday. Now, my feeling around this game is it's quite conflicting, because we have to play ourselves into form, but we also can't risk players to Europa League. So it's a bit of a catch-22 kind of situation for Ollie at the moment. I think, yes, we're after losing a couple of them in Spain, and then we drew a game, so we haven't won in the last 4 games. So when you kind of look at it, it's a confidence boost Sunday if we win the game. Players are up and at it, though. They'll be confident, going into Europa League final. Whereas we win the game, pick up a couple of injuries, that's where a problem could be. So I think Ollie, he's going to be very conscious with his team selection. I think we may see Bruno get a rest Sunday. I do believe that. I do think Bruno will probably sit this one out, even though he doesn't like to sit out games. He wants to play every game, and I don't blame him. I really, really don't blame him. Dean Fury is also in the comments tonight. Dean Fury says, evening, Dean, I hope you're well, pal. Dean Fury is also confident in the comments. Dean Fury says he's going for a 3-1 win to Manchester United. So, yeah, look, I'm liking your confidence, Dean. It could very well be. But yeah, I think when you look at the Fulham performance, I think, again, I think we were in third gear for most of the game. I don't think we kind of came out of that. And I think, again, that's obviously a result of the Europa League is there. If we overcommit, you could get an injury. We've seen Maguire got injured against Villa. McTominay and Fred are both out now for the Europa League final. So it'd be interesting to see kind of what Ollie does now. Does he play in the Man United on Sunday? Give him about good 60, 65 minutes to play himself into a bit of match fitness, going into next week, because he potentially could be starting next week. Does he play Paul Pogba now? Obviously, with McTominay and Fred now being both out to the final, we're down to the bare bones in central midfield at the moment. So we could maybe see Pogba being moved away from that left-hand side role, which he's been effective there in recent weeks and months. He's been very effective there. Does Pogba now come back into the middle of the park? I think that's a massive, massive talking point. In my opinion, in Europa League final, he probably should anyway. If we're talking about taking control of the game, because Villarreal, they will have energy in midfield. So I think Paul Pogba, we need to match that energy. I think Marcus Rashford on the left-hand side in the final is massive. Marcus Rashford has been contributing off the right-hand flank this season, but I think against Villarreal, you move him back onto that left-hand side. I think you've seen how effective against Liverpool when he moved to that left-hand side and him and Shaw were able to link up. I know we lost the game ultimately, but when Marcus Rashford and Luke Shaw were back linking in that position, it was like earlier on the season when they were both playing fantastically well on that left-hand side. And when we play Rashford and Shaw, we're formidable. We're very, very formidable on that left-hand side. So I do think we may see Rashford back out on that left-hand side if there is an injury to McTominay and Fred and they both don't make it. Because I do see Pogba being moved back inside with regards to it. It's going to come to another couple of comments here. Dean Fury also says, I hope Maguire is okay to play in the final. I'm going to come to Amy. I'm going to come to your question later on because it's something I want to talk about in terms of team selection. Bits and Bobs is also in the house. Yeah, so what? It's my man Bits and Bobs. He's in the comments here this evening. Hope you're well, pal. Dean Fury is also in the comments. I will come to that also in a while. Victoria's Secret says, I think we should rest some of the key players: Bruno, Pogba, Shaw, Cavani. I think we would struggle in the final if one or more of these players were not playing on Wednesday. Look, I absolutely agree. I think you miss Cavani, you miss that focal point up front. You miss Bruno. That's your talisman. That's your man who can lead the press, who can be energetic, who can, do everything they can to press in front. And he's our leader. He's our leader in this team, where people like to admit it or not. Bruno Fernandes is our leader in this team. Bits and Bobs also says here in the comments, and I absolutely agree, smash a like under the video. Do subscribe to the channel. Massive Joe, thanks to everyone who supports me. It's a great honor to talk to you every week. Daniel Levison is also in the comments. Daniel says, evening Keane. Evening Daniel, I hope you're well. Hope you have a good weekend. But yeah, so before I get into like team selections and kind of how I think we're going to line up on Sunday, because there's a few people who are after getting called up to the squad who I've been clamoring for to get called up to the first team squad for quite some time. Shane also knows where I'm going with this if he's watching. So before I get to team selections, I'm going to do my season review next week in full detail, where I'm going to talk about the whole season in a nutshell and kind of all the big events and the highs and the lows of this season. I'm going to talk about all that next week. But tonight I'm actually going to put a little twist on this now. I'm going to give my goal of the season. I'm going to give my young player of the year from the academy. I'm going to give my player of the season. And I'm also going to give my most improved from last season as well. So we're going to spice things up. We're going to get you guys involved in the comments as well. Let's see if we do agree on some of these things. So first of all, I'm going to touch on goal of the season. So we scored a lot of crackers this year. We've seen Pogba's against West Ham. We've seen Bruno against Everton. Our goal against Roma, Bruno's goal against Roma when he dinks the keeper. We've scored the Pogba goal against Fulham. Greenwood's, has scored a couple of screamers this season. Rashford has scored a couple of good goals. So I want to ask you guys in the comments, if you're watching on Twitter, if you're watching it on YouTube, whichever platform you're on, let me know in the comments what was your goal of the season. So whatever your goal of the season was, let me know in the comments on Twitter or on YouTube. And let's get this discussion going. For me, I'm actually going to go with Bruno Fernandes' goal against Newcastle earlier on the season, right after the 6-1. You look at the overall build-up play to that goal. Like, we started from the back. I was like, I remember Donny van de Beek started the attack from the back. It goes into Rashford inside, and then it pops it out to Mata. Mata pops it back into Rashford inside. Bruno makes a beautiful run in around him. Bruno puts it right into the top right-hand corner to put it 2-1. For me, I think I just appreciated that move and then the overall finish for that goal. I think it was a great run of play. And for people who talk about Manchester United don't have a style of play, you're absolutely ludicrous. And you look at Manchester United's goals this year, there's been a lot of great patterns of play this season. So for me, I'm going to go with that goal just literally on just the overall build-up and the great finish by Bruno. Obviously, the Bruno one against Roma was fantastic. We obviously seen Greenwood against Spurs, very well taken finish, sent regularly onto the shadow realm. That was absolutely brilliant. Pogba's one against West Ham, very good. I'm going to come to a couple of comments with this goal of the season shouts. Aston Villa fan, who's in the comments regularly. How's it going, Aston? Hope everything is well. He thinks Pogba versus West Ham, that was a beauty. That was an absolute peacher of a goal. And like, it was just the way he took it first time in the direction on that goal. That was worthy of goal of the season. Dean Fury says here in the comments, Cavani for his most recent one. Yeah, look, I know they voted Bruno against Everton as goal of the season, like officially on the Man United website, but that goal, like when you think about from long range, when you think about the return of fans, when you think about the pressure Cavani would have been under to score that goal, that's very fitting for goal of the season. I do not disagree with that. Nor will I disagree with anybody, to be fair. Victoria's Secrets also says Bruno's half volley against Istanbul back this year. That was actually a very good finish as well. Very well taken. And again, half volleys are very hard to score. So definitely, I think that's definitely a shout as well. Rory has given a twist on this. Rory says McTominay's first goal against Leeds. Interesting. That was a very good first time strike as well. And the fact, look, it's against Leeds. Let's be fair. Any goal against Leeds United guys, we'll always kind of cherishing it. Daniel's given all of his awards in that comment, so I will come to that comment later on. But goal of the season, a lot of great shouts from you guys in the comments, a lot of great goals. I was going to actually go to others. I think when you look at, for me, yeah, definitely I look at that goal against Newcastle. For me, it's just right after the 6-1 to put us 2-1 up as well, which was beautiful play. And again, people talk about Manchester United don't have a style of play under Ollie. Again, ludicrous. Amy also points out here in the comments, Bruno's free kick against Liverpool needs a shout. 100%. Look, again, any winner against Liverpool is very good. And again, you know, Jurgen Klopp was talking that week about Bruno Fernandes. He scores penalties and then Bruno scores a free kick from 25 yards. That's definitely a massive shout. But yeah, great shouts, lads, for goal of the season. I think there's a lot of candidates there. And there's probably some I've missed. Like you think about Bruno's one against Everton, his volley against West Brom away from home. And also sensational strike. Victoria's Secrets also says here, Pogba versus Fulham is a shout. Yeah, that goal away from home. That put us top of the league as well. I know it's only for a short time, but the significance of the goal at the time definitely would count. But yeah, look, a lot of great shouts, guys. Look, and again, absolutely, I always respect everyone's opinions. And lads, you are absolutely smashing it with your suggestions tonight. I suppose the next thing I'd like to go to is Academy Player of the Season. Now, there is loads of candidates for players out of the Academy to get Player of the Season this year. I'm just going to rattle off about 4 or 5 players in the Academy who've been very, very good this season. And then, obviously, I'm going to give my standout for the Academy this year. So, obviously, look, the first player I'm going to talk about is Hannibal. Hannibal has been absolutely sensational in the Academy. He has the arrogance. He has the first touch. He's so direct. He's everything in an attacking midfielder Manchester United want. Now, I think when we look at next season, maybe if we're looking to rotate Bruno in that role, if Ollie doesn't fancy Van de Beek, is Hannibal going to make that step up next season? He has all the qualities of a Manchester United player. Does he need maybe one more year in the Academy? We don't know. But I think he's definitely someone who definitely deserves a massive mention for Academy Player of the Year. Well, I'm just giving my shouts here. Obviously, the awards have already been given by United this week, but I just want to kind of discuss to you guys who you think should get kind of Academy Player of the Year. Again, his route to the first team, Hannibal, has been kind of stalled because of his disciplinary issues. He got sent off. There's been kind of stuff going on behind the scenes with his attitude, apparently. But look, I've no doubt that with a manager and Ollie, if he does get a first team call up, Ollie's man management is second to none. So I think if Hannibal does get called up to the first team and he isn't in around that first team squad, there is a lot of players there. He's a great player, and I think with Ollie, you have someone there who will put his arm around them, and you have people, who like Maguire, Bruno Fernandes, people like that who can wrap an arm around him when he does come up into the first team, who can give him a bit of guidance and make him work that bit harder, because he is a promising talent, and he's most definitely someone, who's worth a mention for Player of the Year for the Academy and a call up to the first team very, very soon. The next person I'm going to come to is a player. Look, everyone who's watching this channel in the last kind of couple of months will know I'm very high on this player, and someone who I've given a lot of praise to. I do think this guy has the X factor in terms of a Manchester United player, a Manchester United winger. Shola Shortire. Again, Newcastle born, youth player, plays left midfield, can also play in the right and also play behind the striker. He's been very good this season. As you've seen, he did get his call up earlier on in the season to the first team. Played well when he came on. He looked very tidy. But for the under-23s and the 18s this year, he's been top notch. And he looks like he's ready to kind of make that next bust to the Manchester United first team. Like Hannibal, he has the balance, he has the drive, determination. He's very creative. Now, the only thing he probably lacks, Shortire, is physical strength. But again, like, he's only 17, 18. He can build himself up. Again, probably time with the first team is probably needed in terms of building his physical strength and getting used to that level. Like, obviously, look, Elanga, Hannibal and Shortire are now in with first team training now. So you'd like to think now, the more they get in there, the more the physical strength they can build up, the more experience. Maybe they can test players. I'm going to say this. Test the likes of Dan James. Test the likes, of a Diallo. Players who are already in around the first team. Push them to get into that kind of squad, and kind of push the likes of Greenwood, Rashford for them winger spots. Obviously, look, it's heavily mooted. Jadon Sancho is coming to the football club this summer. So these young lads have to look at this and let's try and make these big steps, especially in them attacking midfield / winger positions. Shortire has been very good this year, and he's someone who I think this weekend we very well could see make an appearance. Third player, I'm going to look at for Player of the Year for the youth. I know he only kind of joined them in January. But Amad Diallo, he's come into that youth team and he has hit the ground running. Like, again, against Liverpool, was probably the most watched under-23 game in history because of so much hype behind Amad Diallo. His debut, you couldn't pick it any better. Like, Pineda penalty against Liverpool, goals and assists against Liverpool. He just looked like he had that X factor. You knew from the watching that first under-23s game that Amad Diallo was going to be a very good talent for Manchester United. And he has proven that. Like, every time he's got a first team shout, you can see there's a player there. Now, in terms of Player of the Year for the 23s and the 18s, probably not going to get it for me because he's only there since January, but he's a very good player. And next season he's going to be challenging in them spots for a winger in the attacking midfield. Juan Mata looks like he's going to be leaving the club as well. So now is a chance for Diallo. Now is a chance for Hannibal. Now is a chance, for these young players to come in and make a show. Daniel James isn't the greatest either. These young players have more football and ability than Daniel James, I believe, in my opinion. So it's only now that they need to make up a step up and show they have the maturity to push the first team next season. Because there's a lot of players within the first team, that are probably coasting a bit, that know their positions aren't being threatened. And we're seeing sometimes it's causing a dip in performance. So I think these young players have to grasp a chance. So we've seen when young players do grasp a chance at Manchester United coming off from the academy, that they flourish under the bright lights, 76,000 in Old Trafford, which, please God, we see next season. And please God, I'm back over there next season. But Diallo is another nominee. But my fourth and final nominee, and I'm going to be honest, he's my winner of the Academy Player of the Season, the under-23/18s Player of the Season here, is Charlie McNeil. up front. Anyone who watches the academy in 23s will know his goal scoring record is very reminiscent of what Mason Greenwood's was. Well, it's actually better. He broke Greenwood's record for a goal scoring season for the academy. He's a fantastic footballer, great striker, and he's someone who I know we're talking about Greenwood playing up front and Greenwood. If Greenwood is going to be pushed onto that right hand side, because all he does kind of fancy Greenwood as a right midfielder and inside kind of forward. If the situation is that Greenwood is going to be preferred as a right winger, we then in the next 2-3 years have to shoehorn Charlie McNeil as our number 9. I'm not saying straight away, because straight away, look at his age. Very tender. Still a lot of development to go. But if we're talking about if Greenwood doesn't get the chance as a striker and he's going to be used as a right winger, then in the next couple of years, we need to be shoehorning McNeil as our number 9 because he is so talented. And when you look at kind of the Greenwood situation, if he stays there as a right winger, we're going to need a young striker to come up and do the business. And McNeil has shown all them signs Greenwood did during his development. And he's after breaking Greenwood's goal-scoring record at youth level. And he's after smashing it. So, I think you have to look at it and say, Charlie McNeil this year, definitely youth player and player of the year for me. This is obviously just for me. I've seen guys that you've had different opinions in the comments. But he is someone, I think, Charlie McNeil, who can thrive. And next season, I know next year he'll probably move on and partly be a permanent fixture in the under-23s. So I do think Charlie McNeil is someone who we're going to see a lot more of in the Manchester United shirt. And hopefully, let's obviously not next season probably, but next 2-3 years, let's hope he gets into that first team and let's see another star in the making. But I was going to come to a couple of comments with regards to the Academy Player of the Season. Got to scroll back up for you guys. So Rory says in the comments, he thinks Hannibal, hands down player of the year. Look, I won't disagree. He's been very, very good for the under-23s this year. Daniel Nevison says McNeil. Next question, Keane lads. Yep, Daniel is in agreement with me that Charlie McNeil is definitely player of the season for both teams. Dean Fury also says his is McNeil as well. McNeil serious. Aaron Williams is also in the comments, says Wagwan. Good evening, Aaron. Hope you're well, pal. Gary Egan, Liverpool fan here in the comments. Gary says hello. Evening, Garrett. I hope you're well, pal. And then Victoria's Secret says Hannibal wins for me. Huge talent and has everything needed to make it as a top player. Yeah, he does have that kind of arrogance. He has that kind of talent that you kind of know he's going to be a player. I just hope when he does make the first team, and I have heard a couple of things about his attitude behind closed doors, I just hope he's not another Ravel Morrison waiting to happen, because I think we all seen how talented Ravel Morrison was and we all see what happened there. So fingers crossed that doesn't happen with Hannibal either, because that would be an absolute shame, because he has all the tools to be like top player for Man United. But yeah, McNeil would be my under-23/18s player of the season. Again, we've had a contrast in opinions in the comments, which is absolutely great to see. Now, before I get to player of the season, I'm going to come to most improved. Now, this is where I kind of had a debate with myself over the day, because I got a half day from work today. So I didn't do massive preparation for this. I kind of just done more thinking in terms of what am I going to come on here and what am I going to talk about in terms of this season, and kind of who I think who has performed, who hasn't performed. Most improved player, guys, I'm going to go for Luke Shaw. And I want to touch on this because Luke Shaw has been sensational this year. He's been consistent, very, very consistent, going forward and defensively. He's been world class. And when you look at Luke Shaw, when you look at Jose Mourinho, and look what Jose Mourinho done to him as his time as Manchester United manager, Jose Mourinho absolutely destroyed Luke Shaw, like mentally. When you look at Luke Shaw and you look at his time as Manchester United left back, last summer we were all calling for Reguilon to be signed. You can go back on the channel. When I seen the Reguilon links after seeing how good he was, seeing how good he was against us in the Europa League last year with Sevilla, and seeing him play with Seville in La Liga, I thought, we'd be getting a good left back. Then when Telles signed, I seen how good he was at his offensive side of his game. I thought, geez, Luke Shaw's in trouble. But when I look at Luke Shaw, he's come on leaps and bounds this season in terms of his crossing, in terms of his position and attacks, in terms of knowing where to be, in terms of his defending, because his defending came under a lot of scrutiny last season at large parts, and it came under a lot of scrutiny this season early on when we were conceding goals left, right and centre against the likes of Brighton, against the likes of Spurs, Crystal Palace earlier on the season. Like, he was under scrutiny. The whole back four was under scrutiny at that point. But since the 6-1, he's been Mr. Consistent since then. He's dropped a 7, 8 out of 10 in every single game, sometimes even 9s and 10s in most weeks. And when he looked like his days were numbered under Mourinho, and even at the start of this season under Ollie, he's turned it around. And it's a great comeback story. And for him, when I actually look at Shaw, when you look at his defining moment of this season, I wouldn't say defining moment, right? But I would say one of his greatest moments this season. Spurs away. Basically nearly man of the match that day. Luke Shaw and Paul Pogba sacked Jose Mourinho. Because United were Jose Mourinho's last loss as Tottenham boss. That was the nail in the coffin. And for Luke Shaw to put in that type of performance and sack Mourinho, that must have been a feel-good moment for Shaw, considering how poorly Mourinho treated Luke Shaw in that time. And you look at his performance against City away in the derby, scoring a goal and again pocketing Riyad Mahrez as he usually does. That was fantastic by Shaw. So hands down, 100%, most improved player this season. And he doesn't get player of the season for me because I'm going to come to player of the season in a moment, but it was very close. Very, very close. But he's been sensational. I'm going to come to Dean Fury's comment here. I hold my hands up. When Telles came in, I wanted Telles to start as well. You can go back on the earlier shows. I called for Telles to start. But Luke Shaw has turned it around and he's proved why United paid 30 million for him back in 2014. Under Louis van Gaal, he did show them signs, but then the leg break happened. Then Van Gaal left. Memphis Depay was gone from that left-hand side. His partner, they were very good on that left-hand side. Then he came back to a defensive Jose Mourinho who was playing Ashley Young left back. So for me, it's been a good redemption story. Let's hope he can continue this next season. Now, I know in the last couple of games, he kind of has petered off, but the whole team has. So I wouldn't be too concerned about that, in my opinion. I wouldn't be too concerned because I do believe in the final he will step it up. And I think he'll be one of our most important players on Wednesday. Now, I'm going to come to a couple of comments with regards to Luke Shaw, and then I'm going to come to player of the season. Aston says Luke Shaw. He's actually an Aston Villa fan. He says Luke Shaw to win both. Victoria's Secrets also says Shaw hands down most improved player. His attack and play this season makes him a completely different player to how he was. I would not pick any other left back in the world ahead of him. I said this the other day. I think the only left back in world football that you can probably compete with him is Alphonso Davies at the moment from Bayern Munich, because he's been very good. But I don't think there's another left back in world football who's better than him this season. And I think, you look at his England career, look dead. He's going to start for England now in the Euros, even though, again, me being Irish, I have no invested interest in England necessarily in the European Championships. But I will be watching him because United players like Rashford, Shaw, maybe Greenwood as well, Maguire. So be interested to see how Shaw plays with Gareth Southgate. That's if Southgate doesn't pick Ben Chilwell as left back, which he shouldn't. But we never know. He has his favourites. Victoria's Secrets also says in the comments, Ollie trust in Shaw gave him the confidence to become the player he should have become years ago. Yeah, look, sometimes all you need as a player is to wrap your arm around the player and instill confidence in him, tell him that they're the man. Like, Ollie's done that with many players. It's not just Luke Shaw. He's done it with Rashford. He's done it with Pogba. He done it with Martial last year. Like, people tend to forget Martial scored 25 goals last season. I know this year he's dipped, largely down to injury and kind of being in and out of the team. But Ollie's done this with a lot of players in terms of man management, in terms of wrapping his arm around the player and kind of giving him self-confidence. I think Ollie's man management is massively important in terms of how we've progressed in the last couple of years. People can talk about Ollie doesn't have a style of football. That's false. People talk about Ollie's not a good manager. That's false. People say that, he's not a good man manager. Again, that's false. In-game management, I will give you that. His in-game management sometimes can be poor. But he's only, he's only at the top level only recently. So he's learning the job. He's getting better in the job. And I think Ollie's a massive part in a lot of players progressing in this team. Like Scott McTominay's progressed under Ollie. He mightn't be everyone's cup of tea, but he was terrible under Mourinho. He was absolutely brutal under Mourinho. But Ollie's come in, he's helped him adapt to his game. He's actually played him in a kind of a box-to-box role at times, and he's got goals. It's Scott McTominay's best season as a Manchester United player. So he has improved a lot of players, and Ollie deserves massive credit for this. Daniel Neverson always says, Shaw has said having that little rain has changed him as well. He's adored in our house. He came over to us Tuesday night after the game. That's absolutely fantastic to see. Daniel, I know there's obviously someone who threw the scarf for Luke Shaw. I just want to touch on that as well. Obviously you've seen on Twitter, there's a lad who, in support obviously the Green and Gold campaign, threw the scarf over to Luke Shaw. Obviously it wasn't done in a serious way. And Luke Shaw, that fan was facing a 3-year ban from Old Trafford and not being able to go to the Europa League final in Gdansk. Luke Shaw has actually stepped in, had discussions with the club, and I'm happy to say that fan is not only going to Gdansk, but he's not facing any ban from Manchester United as well. So again, just shows how good of a human being Shaw is. He could have been some other footballers who wouldn't interact with fans, and Joe just would have left that off and wouldn't care. But Luke Shaw has shown how good he is as a human as well. So again, he's someone who deserves a lot of admiration from our football club. Aston says in the comments as well, I wouldn't have even put him in contention for the Euros last summer. Neither would I. I remember there's a Chelsea fan on this podcast before Christmas, and they said his England career is over. I said it wasn't. I actually said I brought up the topic. I said, do you think Luke Shaw could get a chance with England? Because he was starting to come into a bit of form. And he said, no, his England career is dead. But look, again, he's probably going to start for England. Well, he should anyway. This summer, Dean Fury says that's good news as well. In terms of the fan not receiving the ban, I think that's absolutely fantastic. The fact he gets to go to the final now on Wednesday, and because Luke Shaw obviously stepping in, that's absolutely great to see. It's going to come to a couple of other comments here as well. Dean Fury says, is Ferguson's new documentary out? It's out in the cinemas now. I know there's obviously other kind of links out there. You might have to text people to get it. I'm obviously not going to promote illegal streaming on my own YouTube channel, but if you know people, you know people. I've seen it, and trust me, it was a tearjerker. Dean Fury says in the comments, I'm just going to take a minute to actually read this. Can I just say, Keane, this channel's growth should be moving a lot quicker than this. It's great content and work ethic, as I know most people on the channel also work full-time. Keep it up. I do appreciate the support there, Dean. Look, again, I work a 40-hour-a-week job. Obviously, come from September onwards, I'm going to be doing a degree in broadcasting, so I'm going to be doing this full-time. Well, not this channel necessarily full-time, but I'm going to be going to broadcasting, home to work on the radio and stuff like that, kind of doing it in college. So yeah, look, I do appreciate everyone's support to watch the show. And again, it's to have shows like this tonight when you're on your own and chatting with the comments and getting interaction with fellow United fans. Something that I miss because I'm not going to the stadiums at the minute, obviously because of the COVID situation. Look, this platform has obviously provided me with a great chance to get to know a lot of people and who I call friends for life now. So that compliment actually means a lot, Dean, and I really do appreciate it. But coming to player of the season, because I'm going to get to the starting lineups and stuff like that in terms of the game on Sunday. But I'm going to give my player of the season. This man, I think, like, you look at it, he's the epitome of a Manchester United player. This man has been the difference maker in the last kind of 18 months. This man has been almost the type of player we've been missing since Sir Alex Ferguson has left the football club, in terms of being a leader, in terms of being a talismanic figure, in terms of being that overall quality, the missing link. I'm going to go Bruno Fernandes for player of the year. I think when you look at his statistics this season, I think it speaks for itself. Like, he's 28 goals and like 17 assists or something like that. For a midfield player, that's absolutely ridiculous, playing in the Premier League. Kevin De Bruyne never had a season like this. Frank Lampard did have a season like this, but Bruno is after beating that. Without Bruno Fernandes, last season we wouldn't have finished in the top 4. Without a shadow of a doubt, like, there's no point denying it. We had Andreas Pereira playing in midfield where Bruno was. There was no hope in hell we were clawing back a 14-point gap without Bruno Fernandes. Not a hope. You look at this season, he's provided so many match-winning moments. Now, I know Shaw has been fantastic as well. Like, he's been very good defensively, which has helped us pick up points. But when you look at Bruno, he's provided so many match-winning moments. He's after making certain players around him even better. Like, you're seeing a difference in Paul Pogba since Bruno's come to the football club, because Paul Pogba doesn't have to be just that sole creative outlet. Paul Pogba's been better. We've seen Marcus Rashford's numbers go up since Bruno's come to the football club. It's absolutely ridiculous. You look at his impact. Now, he hasn't won the trophies yet at the football club to say he's a Cantona-esque figure or a Van Persie-esque figure. Those players who have come in and made that immediate impact and helped us win a trophy. He helped us win the Europa League. He's in that conversation in terms of impact player, in terms of instant impact. Because not only last season did he help us get 14 points from top 4. Like, that was impossible at that stage of the season. But he got us back up to being a team that's challenging. This year he's propelled us to second place. Well, not only just him, but he's been a massive, massive part in that. And you look at just what he's done for overall players' confidence around them. There was players in this team that didn't look like that they were that good in terms of the midfield area. Bruno's come in and he's raised everyone's levels. He has a winning mentality. And I think when you look at him, he's only going to get better. I think if we have a big summer this year and we sign that defensive midfield player in the summer and a right winger, we're going to see even a better Bruno Fernandes next season. I strongly, strongly believe that. I think this football club needs to do everything they can to sign him to a big long-term contract this summer or even by Christmas. Because it's not going to be long before other teams are going to be coming in sniffing around for him. There's going to be teams like Barcelona who are on a rebuild, Real Madrid, Bayern Munich. I'd even say go as far as maybe even rival Premier League clubs, maybe a Chelsea. There's going to be clubs eventually who are going to come sniffing around for Bruno. So I think we need to do everything we can to keep him at this football club. So we don't need just to tie him down to a big contract, but we also need to provide him with more quality players around him to help him challenge for the biggest trophies. Because it's not often you get a player like Bruno Fernandes who has that level of production and has that level of quality from central midfield. Now, I know he's attacking midfield, but central midfield. Now, people can talk about consistency. And they can talk about certain games he hasn't scored goals. I can agree with that to some extent. But there's a lot of people calling for him to simplify his game. And he's done that this season, in the second half of the season. Now, granted, in that second half of the season, he hasn't pulled up the numbers he probably did in the first half of the season. But he's been very good in these games. He's flown under the radar. Just because he hasn't scored a goal doesn't mean he hasn't played well. I think people get kind of mystified when they kind of say, oh, he hasn't scored. Oh, he hasn't got an assist, but he hasn't played well. Football is more about, like, there's more to football than just goals and assists. Like, there's more than that. People live off stats. Like, people watch football just for the statistical point. It's ridiculous. It really is. If you base your football kind of outlook on just stats alone, you're missing the whole point. Because Bruno's, like, apart from scoring goals and assists this year, his ability to press from the front has been very good. His ability to take the ball under pressure is fantastic. If you've actually watched this season, I know people can talk about he has given the ball away. Yes, he has, but when you actually look at him, he's our number 10, and sometimes he's even our deepest player. Because our two holding midfielders, and McTominay and Fred, aren't capable sometimes to take that ball in the half turn in confidence and release it to get us up the pitch. Sometimes he actually has to drop into the hole, into that kind of defensive midfield role to receive the ball and get us up the pitch, which really he shouldn't be, because he's more of an attacking midfielder / kind of second striker almost, where he needs to be getting into the box, kind of in kind of a Frank Lampard-esque, type of role. So when you look at Bruno, I think he's added a lot more to his game this year. But the numbers he's pulled up this season are ridiculous. And you look at kind of without his numbers this year, and without his goals, and without his overall leadership, we'd probably be mid-table this season. Realistically, we'd probably be fighting in around 5th or 6th. Like 7th, in and around that kind of, if we didn't have Bruno Fernandes this season. Like, I think that, look, he's such a good impact player, and I think he's one of the best players in the world. And I'm going to say in the league, in the world, he's definitely, like, without a shadow of doubt, he's one of the best football players in the world at the moment. Like, you look at other midfield players in the world, De Bruyne has been okay, but this hasn't been De Bruyne's best year. You look at Phil Foden, he's been fantastic. Gundogan, Thiago's meant to come to the Premier League and have a Bruno effect. He's had nothing like that. Nothing at all. Thomas Partey came to the Premier League this year. He hasn't been great. He's meant to be a great box-to-box midfield player. He hasn't been that. Bruno Fernandes has been sensational. Best midfielder in the league this season, in my opinion. And if you're looking at Premier League player this season, he has to be at 2. I know Ruben Diaz will probably get it because the difference he's made the City's defence. He's made a 250 million defence look like a 250 million defence. Do you know what I mean? But from my opinion, he's just a fantastic player, fantastic professional, and worthy of player of the season. But I can understand why people would say Luke Shaw too, because he's been great. That's why I threw in most improved player tonight, because Luke Shaw, he has been very good too. He's been great too. So I want to acknowledge that. Just had to take a sip of water because I did kind of go on a bit of a 5-10 minute monologue about Bruno Fernandes. I'm going to come to a couple of comments with regards to this. Daniel said, you should have said, lad, I could have got a couple of lads to come on. Look, it's all good, Daniel. I kind of wanted to come on tonight anyway, and kind of, if you even asked the lads in the comments who were in my group, I kind of didn't kind of push anyone to come on today, because look, next week we're kind of loaded with content, and I kind of wanted to just have a bit more of a personal approach tonight, because I haven't really got a chance to kind of interact with you guys fully in the comments. So I kind of wanted to have a bit more of a personal show tonight with you guys. Dean Fury also said we need more of Shane also. Look, to be fair, Shane is a family man. Shane also has a job. Shane tries his best to come on as much as he can. So look, he gets on when he can. And look, he obviously has to prioritize his family and his work life first before the channel. Look, I wouldn't expect anyone to put this channel first before anything, in terms of their personal life. I'm not saying obviously, because Shane is also family as well. But look, you have to put your family first more than anything. But I will promote something with me and Shane at the end of the show. So do stick around, because there is something exciting coming up this weekend with regards to myself and Shane and content. So do check that out. Victoria's Secrets also says Shaw player of the season. Yeah, look, again, I do not disagree. Amy also says Captain Magnifico, so that's in reference to Bruno. Jay says in the comments, Bruno and Shaw have been absolutely outstanding for Man United this season. Aston says ridiculous stats. I think that's in relation to Bruno's impact. Daniel says in the comments, Bruno has been superb. I'd give it to Shaw just because of his consistency. Again, I do not disagree. Dean says Bruno definitely top 3 players in the league, period. Yep. You're bang on the money there. Aston says, reminds me of Grealish, the team just functions 10 times better when he's in the side. Yeah. Like you look at, I'll even just allude to Villa. Like you look at Villa this season when Jack Grealish went on the side, they kind of petered off because they didn't have that kind of focal point, that kind of X factor. It's kind of the same with Bruno. Like you see when he doesn't play in his team, kind of how much we miss him. So yeah, like they are similar players. Dean says in the comments, in terms of transfers this season, I think 2 major signings is the most we're going to get. Sancho and a centre defensive midfielder, and a quality one at that. Well, Laurie Whitehall from the Athletic said today that Declan Rice is Manchester United's number 1 target for a defensive midfielder. So finally, the media fucking acknowledged that defensive midfield is a target, and finally the football club are acknowledging it. It looks like they're actually going for Declan Rice. So I know my Irish part of me says, do not get the fucking snake, but he's a fantastic footballer. He would be someone who could slide into that defensive midfield role because he can take the ball under pressure. He's tall, he's a ball winner, and he's a better defensive-minded midfield player than McTominay and Fred, because McTominay is more box-to-box midfielder. He's not a defensive midfield player. Fred is not a defensive midfield player either. Rice would be a lot more capable to playing that singular role, and then you would be able to move a Pogba into midfield and then Bruno into midfield beside him. And then it allows Rashford to play on the left, and it gives us a lot better balance if you get a defensive midfielder like Rice. So 100%, I would like to see Declan Rice come to Man United. Dean also says, although we need about 4 major signings, don't know if the money is there in the quote-unquote current climax. Dean, the money is there. I know the club are going to use COVID as the excuse, but the money is there. We all know why the money isn't there. Because then fucking parasites take the money out of the football club. But the money is most definitely there. It's just the club won't spend it. It's just simple as that. Rory says, another great show. Thanks very much, Rory. Do massively appreciate it. Also, just going to kind of, before I kind of come back to the game, just want to touch on this. I love the jersey, and the giveaway brings back great memories. So, if you're only tuning in now, we do have a giveaway over on the Weekly Armchair Kickoff podcast Twitter page at Weekly Armchair. We are giving away a 98-99 jersey from the treble winning season. I'm obviously going to purchase it out of my own pocket. I am announcing the winner of that giveaway this Wednesday, and the day of the Europa League final. I'm going to do it live here on the pre-match show, and so I will be announcing the winner on that show. If you haven't already, after the show, go over to Twitter, go and search at Weekly Armchair on Twitter. It's our pinned tweet in the page. It'll be the first tweet you see when you go into the Weekly Armchair Kickoff Twitter page. Hit like in the tweet, retweet the tweet, and if you're not following, do hit the follow button, because you need to do all 3 of them things before you're eligible to be within a chance to win the jersey. And so after the show, do jump over to the Weekly Armchair Kickoff podcast Twitter page at Weekly Armchair, and do hit like in the tweet, retweet the tweet, and also drop a follow to the page, and you will be eligible then to win the jersey. And best of luck to everyone who enters. Obviously, if you want to win, if you're not a United fan, you're watching this and you have a friend or cousin, boyfriend, girlfriend, aunt, uncle, father, mother, whoever who supports United and would like the jersey, hit like and retweet on it as well. So it'd be a nice little present for whoever. So yeah, do that. Sean Foley says, only joined there. Is this United player of the season or Premier League player of the season? Well, he is United, but Bruno should be Premier League player of the season as well. But I've done a player of the year awards kind of on all the team in terms of the academy, most improved, goal of the season, etc. Rory also says, Keane, I forgot to mention, thanks for following me on Instagram. No problem, pal. No problem at all. Daniel says, do you take bribes? I absolutely don't. I do not take bribes. I'm not Manchester City paying off the UEFA board for getting a 2-year ban, allegedly. I'm going to say allegedly because I have had Manchester City people on the podcast, and I've had a Manchester City correspondent in the media on the podcast. So I'm saying it's alleged because, again, I do not believe in bribery, but there you are. We all just take a moment, guys. He's trying to troll me again. But yeah, like, I do think when you look at kind of this game Sunday, kind of coming back to the game, it's a weird one because we have to play ourselves back into form because we're after not winning in a couple of games. I know we had like fixture congestion and all of the protests, and it's been kind of a weird couple of weeks. It's been wild as a fan, but I also think the players this probably has affected the players in some stretch. Like, if you're playing 4 games in 8 days, mentally and physically, that's going to take its toll on your body. I do not care who you are. Mentally and physically, when you play 4 games in 8 days, it's going to hinder your performance. Might hinder you in the first or second game, but by the third and fourth, your legs are going to be mangled. Your sleep isn't going to be as good. You're going to be training in between that. It is going to affect the performance. So I think we were going to drop points in that kind of time, but we couldn't have imagined that we won't be Fulham at home. Like Leicester and Liverpool at Old Trafford, even without fixture congestion, right? They're 2 very hard games. Very, very hard games. So when I look at them games, I'm not overly angry that we drop points there. Now, Liverpool stung. I'm not going to lie. Liverpool stung because they're our biggest rivals. And again, losing to Liverpool just isn't nice. It isn't. And, it's just one of them things where, it's hard to take, but it is what it is. But the Fulham game wasn't a result we expected. But again, as I said earlier on the show, I think they had one eye on the final at that game. I think we're probably going to see this Sunday as well. So I'm going to come to kind of looking at the game. Obviously, announced today on the Wolves side that Nuno Espirito Santo, he's in the comments, but Nuno Espirito Santo has, obviously left Wolves. This is his last game, and he also always has a very good record, against Manchester United, and Wolves seem to be our bogey team. So this is always going to be a tough game at Molineux, but this is one of them things where, we have to kind of look at this objectively. I think we have to play ourselves into a bit of form, but there's also some players do need to get a game on Sunday. So I'm going to come to my starting 11 prediction for Sunday. Now, here's the thing. Romero, I don't know if he's even in Manchester. I actually had him in goal because I know he hasn't played all season and he's still under contract. Would have been nice to see him get a little swan song, but I don't even think he's even in Manchester at the minute. So I'm going to go Henderson in goal. Simply because I think it's no secret David De Gea is going to start in the Europa League finals. So I think Dean Henderson starts on Sunday. At right back, I'm going to go Brandon Williams. Again, look, I think Wan-Bissaka, we need him against Villarreal. He's actually played well in the last couple of weeks. I know, look, his positioning for the goal against Fulham could have been better, but we do need him against Villarreal. So I'm going to go Brandon Williams right back. A centre half, I'm going to go with Eric Bailly and Axel Tuanzebe. These 2 lads literally need to play well in this game to kind of have a chance playing on Wednesday, because Harry Maguire, all he's going to give him till probably Wednesday morning to start the game. I've had ligament damage in my ankle. I can tell you now, from experience, I don't think Maguire is going to make this game. in this space of time. Now he's up walking, that's great, but all he said in his presser today, there's a big difference between walking and running. Massive difference. And if he's only walking today and he hasn't ran yet, and he's not running today, Europa League final on Wednesday, I think realistically that's not going to happen. Not going to happen. So obviously, look, Boy and Tuanzebe are both going to have to try play for a place on Wednesday. Personally, I'd go Tuanzebe. I think he's a better partner for Lindelof than Boy is. We all know what that Boy and Lindelof partnership is disastrous. So I personally would start Tuanzebe, but Joe, he could go Boy in the final, but I personally would go Tuanzebe. At left back, I'm going to go Alex Telles. Look, Luke Shaw is very important. We're missing him for the final. It could be a sour one. So I'm going to go Luke Shaw. Defensive midfield, going to Nemanja Matic, because if either Fred or McTominay are out, Matic probably does start in the final. So I'll go into Nemanja Matic. Alongside Matic, I'm going Pogba. Again, because Fred and McTominay are both doubts, both probably not going to play Sunday, so we're very short in midfielders. I know Jimmy Garner, I know championship season is over, but I don't think Jimmy Garner will be back from loan. He's not in the Premier League squad. I know Ethan Galbraith's in the 23s. Could he come up and play? But I think you look at it, I think it'll be Matic and Pogba. In front of them, I'm going to go Donny van de Beek in number 10 role. Look, I think Donny van de Beek, he needs to play this game. I think, look, again, he needs to get kind of game time. He needs to get game time. So he definitely needs to start. We'll go Donny. On the right, go Amad Diallo. On the right. Again, look, he played very well against Leicester. Very good player. And again, nice game against Wolves, against a 5 at the back, against a very good left back in Johnny. Be a very good test. Very good test for Amad Diallo. So, like to see him start. Left wing, Reece Russell is going to hate me for this one, but I'm going to go Daniel James. Again, we'd like to still put in a bit of experience for this game. And Dan James could be a player with 5 substitutions in the Europa League final against Seville, where we actually could use him. So, I'm going to play him because he's actually been a decent player in the Europa League for us this year. And again, like, I'm not saying he should start in the Europa League. He shouldn't, but he's definitely a player who could be useful to us come the final. If there's a point where Villarreal are pushing high up the pitch, he could be an asset. I'm saying could. Probably won't be a scenario, but he could be an asset. Up front then, I'm going to go with Mason Greenwood. Again, look, he's on form. May as well play him while he's in form. And again, look, Edison Cavani, I think, needs to be wrapped in cotton wool for the final. And so I do think Mason Greenwood should most definitely start up front. Now, off the bench, there's a couple. I never usually mention this in the starting 11 prediction, but I want to actually mention this. Actually, no, before I do, I'm actually going to come to comments first because a couple of comments have flown in. Daniel says, Henderson, Williams, Axel Jones, Telles, Van de Beek, Matic, Fred, Ahmed, Daniel Mason, Daniel James. And he says, Fred isn't fit. Also, we've Chelsea fan pop in here. It says, hi guys, just pop in to say hi, big up. Thanks very much for tuning in, and do appreciate dropping into the comments. Nice to meet you tonight. But yeah, there's 3 players I'd like to see get a game this Sunday. First player, Shola Short-Hiri off the bench. Daniel James isn't going to, he hasn't played a full 90 in a long time. So for me, Shola Short-Hiri should get a game off the left-hand side. Second half, give him a half an hour or even 45 minutes. Give Shola Short-Hiri game time. He's after getting called up to the first team. He's a great player. And against a Wolves team that, they haven't been the best defensively, he could give them something to think about, in this game. I haven't done a show on my own in an hour. I'm nearly losing my voice. But yeah, shoulder short here, off the left. Definitely bring him on the second half. I think Juan Mata should be given the game Sunday. Not from the start though. I think Donny should play in the 10 ahead of him. But I definitely would give him a game. Maybe give him the last 20 minutes, 25 minutes. Because it's going to be his last game in the Man United shirt. I think, look, he's been a good servant to the club. Do I think he's good enough to be still at the club now to provide next season? No. He simply just doesn't have the legs to play in the Premier League anymore. I'm not going to say United. I don't think he even has legs to play the Premier League. It's very evident his legs are gone. There would be no way he could go to a mid-table team when he doesn't have the ball. I think he's suited to go back to La Liga now, or even go over to Italy. I don't think Juan Mata has the legs or physical stature now to kind of play the Premier League. I know Amy is sad here in the comments, but it's true. Like, you look at, it's a shame, like, his declines have to happen in the last 2 years, but you look at his physical attributes now in terms of his pace, his mobility. Like, his football brain is always going to be there. Like, that's not going to go. You don't lose your football brain, but you do decline physically. Father Time misses no one. Father Time misses no one. So, look, I think he's a good servant to the club. Again, do give him a game. I know it's not in front of our fans, but give our fans kind of one last chance to kind of see him in the United shirt before he leaves in the summer. And, be a good little send-off for him. Obviously, look, hopefully we win the Europa League medal for him and he can lift the trophy. I think it'd be a good little send-off for him. Third player I'd like to see Sunday is Hannibal. Hannibal could be a player we could use, maybe off the right in the second half. Now, I know this is a drastic shout. He can play on the right. He can play anywhere in behind the front four. If Diallo is feeling tired, maybe give Hannibal a game. Obviously, Ethan Alanga is there as an option as well if you want to use one of the other young players. But, Hannibal's after getting called up to first team training last week. Throw him in the matchday squad even. Throw him in the matchday squad just to give him that matchday experience. I know they done it with Greenwood over in Valencia a couple of years ago. Obviously, he got promoted like 5-6 months later, but he did get promoted. In that regard. Chelsea Fan TV says here, do you ever think Matic may leave? Just so sad how Matic's career faded with Manchester United and Chelsea legend. I think the Nemanja Matic, it's kind of tough with this one because he signed a 3-year contract last year at the age of 32, which I think was ludicrous. Even though he's been a decent servant for United. I think Matic, he has proved to be a vital kind of player to the squad at certain points, look, the Nemanja Matic, he could leave in the summer. If Declan Rice comes, I think that could be, and maybe an indicator for him to go. The only thing is, because he'd have a year and a half or 2 years left in the contract, United have to command a transfer fee and his wages. I think it could be a problem to get rid of him in the summer, depending unless Jose Mourinho from Roma comes in and gets him. Do you know what I mean? Someone like that, But I think it could be a problem getting him off the wage bill in the summer. With regards to Mata, look, again, as I said, like last 2 years, he's kind of, the decline has been there. It's been evident in terms of, I think it's sad really because he's been an important player post Sir Alex. He's been one of our best players post Sir Alex. Like, in terms of being consistent. He's been reliable. But if you're looking at the trajectory of this team, you're looking at the future. Could he offer something to the squad? I don't think so. Because when we had injuries this season, he wasn't playing that much. You look at Short Hire, you look at Hannibal, look like them players coming up. Diallo. These players have more to offer at this stage now of their careers than Mata would. Like, I think that the point where it really hit home with me was against Leicester. In the first half, in the first 20, 25 minutes. Juan Mata was struggling to keep up with the pace of the game. He looked like someone who was good on the 5-a-side AstroTurf game, but when it came to 11-a-side game, he didn't have the fitness levels to play. I think, like, when you look at that pace of the game, does the Premier League suit him at his age? I don't think so. Like, he could go to La Liga, where the pace of the game is a bit slower, and down to his pace of the game, where they do kind of sit off you a bit, and they don't press you as high. I think Juan Mata is still going to La Liga. He still could have a lot to offer there. Italy as well. Like, you look at like the other deadwood from United that kind of went over to Italy, like Darmian, Ashley Young, Alexis Sanchez. These players went over and they've kind of carved out a second career for themselves over there. So I think Juan Mata could definitely go to them countries and most definitely make a career for himself there. But again, it's kind of one of these things where, do you know what happens? Another comment here, it says, one thing guaranteed with Ollie is he wants to get rid of someone, it will happen. All the deadwood was cleared so quickly. Sounds like he wants Matt to stay based on his comments though. Thing about that is though, he said the same about Alexis Sanchez and Lukaku, that he wanted them to stay, and they were gone within 2 weeks. So Ollie has a very good poker face. Ollie's not going to come out like Jose Mourinho and says, look, this player is not going to play for me. They call him the babyface assassin for a reason. And again, this is not an agenda on Mata. This is just facts in terms of when he gets rid of players, he's cutthroat. But he will come out. He won't come out and berate him in the media because he's more of a respectful figure like that. So you can look at the comments one of two ways. But if you look at history in terms of how Ollie's got rid of players, he's come out and he's praised them and said, "Yeah, we want him to come back." He said he wanted Alexis Sanchez to come back, but he left. So when you look at that, I think it remains to be seen. Like, I don't see how Mata stays at the football club, considering he barely plays and he's on £160,000 a week, and we're talking about clearing out players to get new players in. So if you're going to do that and you want to clear players out to get players in, then you'd have to say, like, he doesn't probably have a role in the squad anymore because he's not going to play enough games to command that wage. And if you want to get more players in, and if you want to kind of, suppose, build, he can't be part of a future rebuild, especially if you're challenging for the league next year. He simply isn't, you know. Greg says, big up. Cheers, Greg. Actually, I will touch on the end of the show news with regards to Greg as well. But yeah, that's my starting kind of 11 for a Sunday. Look, I think, again, it could be different. We could see a few more first team players in there because, again, we have to play ourselves back into a bit of form on Sunday. But regardless of what happens, we just hope we end the season on a high. And also, we maintain that unbeaten away from home record. Because we're unbeaten. The one thing people are sleeping on is we are unbeaten away from home this season. And we've one game to go the whole season unbeaten away from home domestically in the league, which is a massive achievement. And people can say Ollie isn't making progress. Well, second in the league, a potentially Europa League trophy and unbeaten away from home all season. Is that not progress than last year? You tell me. But I'm going to wrap it up there, guys. Great show tonight. Again, the comments, you've been absolutely flying tonight. Been absolutely delighted to see all you guys. And there's some new faces too. Absolutely love to see that. So just touch on a couple of things just before we finish. So first things first. On Sunday, I'm actually, as you all guys normally know, I'm on Adam Matich's channel, Adam Matich TV. I do feature over there quite a bit on his podcasts and stuff like that. So on Sunday, I'm actually hosting on Adam Matich TV on Sunday. Myself and Shane and Jamie from this channel will be over there. I will be hosting a live watch along on Adam's channel, live at 4 p.m. For Manchester United versus Wolves. So if you want to see me live over there, watch the game along with myself and Shane and Jamie. We'll be chatting about the game, we'll be chatting all things Manchester United in between. So if you do want to catch us over there, do check out Adam's channel. It's Adam Matich TV, and I will be over there 4 p.m. Sunday. give my thoughts on the game, live reactions, and we'll be chatting to the two lads as well, live on air with them. So do check that out if you want to. Also, Mr. Greg Chambers, who's also in the comments here. A few of you guys might know Greg from being on the channel. Greg, I have promoted Greg to being a host on this channel. And so when the Weekly Armchair Kickoff podcast did start, we did have a Premier League podcast. Now this season, it's kind of tailored off a bit because we've moved to StreamYard from Zoom. What we have also done is we've been more focused on all of our clubs, like all the contributors. We've many different contributors to many different clubs, and we've all of our separate shows. So returning in July, and the Premier League podcast will be back. We will have a member from more or less nearly every kind of top 6, top 7 club. Obviously Liverpool, Manchester United, Chelsea, Arsenal, Manchester City, United, Tottenham, all these different clubs. Greg will be hosting that each week. They'll be talking all things Premier League, results, transfer news, everything that's kind of prevalent in the news. Greg will be hosting that show, starting live in July. So do give Greg his best wishes. Starting that new venture in July here on the channel. So yeah, that's something that's coming up soon. Monday evening, live at 8:00. I am hosting our big Europa League final preview with a great panel of guests coming up this Monday. I am joined by Dale O'Donnell from Stretty News, also joined by Adam Matic from Adam Matic TV, and also joined by Callum McFadden from Football CFB. All great people, all big United fans, great United fans in their own right. They'll be coming on with me, and they will be talking the Europa League final. There'll be a lot of big talking points coming into Wednesday's fixture. Also, Three Devils and the Gooners will be back Tuesday night also. They will also be giving their take on the Europa League final. Also talking transfer news, also talking their players this season and stuff like that as well. So it'd be similar to tonight, obviously, but there'd be a lot more people on that show as well. And also next Thursday, I believe, don't quote me, it's here next Thursday, next Friday, we will have our Champions League final preview on the London Lowdown podcast, where Chelsea fans Sean, Jack Clemson and others will be discussing the Champions League final next weekend. So I also see there is a Chelsea fan in the comments. Do message me after the show if you do want to be part of that Champions League final preview. You see my Twitter handle there at Keane_Franey. If you want to be involved in that show, do let me know. We'll get you involved next week. But yeah, that's all the content that's coming up on the channel next week. And as always, if you missed the show earlier on, head over to the Weekly Armchair Kickoff podcast Twitter page at Weekly Armchair. We are doing a competition for the Europa League final this Wednesday, where I will be giving away a 98-99 Manchester United jersey. And all you have to do is like and retweet the tweet, and also follow the Weekly Armchair Kickoff podcast Twitter page. And you will be within a chance to win that 98-99 jersey. So do check that out, literally just as I finish this show. But thanks very much, everyone watching. Really do appreciate all your comments. And look, I will be back this Monday on the channel, where I will have Dale, Adam, and Callum on the channel previewing Europa League final. And look, big, massive up to the Manchester United this season. Been a very good season in the Premier League. But let's hope we can end this season on a high and we can go out. Let's be unbeaten away from home. And let's get a bit of form going into the Europa League final, because that's massive in terms of progress for next season. But thanks very much, everyone, for watching, and I'll see you on Monday, guys.